Good morning, everyone. I hope you hear me loud and clear. So first of all, thank you, Decryption and the crew, for inviting me to give this speech on behalf of Europol. So, I'm not known in this audience because of the simple fact I'm a police officer by education. Well, also I have some forensic background, but in general, I'm the police officer. I have more than 20 years of experience in cybercrime investigations at all levels. And I have a privilege to lead a very, very talented team. So I will give you some insights of what we do. In general, what law enforcement is doing in order to put the bad guys beyond the bars, so to say. So, what is Europol? You know, it's always an interesting experience to talk with someone who is, outside this law enforcement bubble, and there's all sorts of misunderstandings, misconceptions about what is Europol, what is, for example, Interpol, and what do we do, and so on. So, Europol is an EU agency, European Union Agency for Law Enforcement Cooperation. This is official name. So this is exactly what we do. We are intelligence hub. We link different law enforcement authorities all over the world. We link them together. We collect information, but also we provide high-tech support. And this is exactly what our team is doing. So does it have anything to do with Interpol? Not exactly. Interpol I don't want to call it mailbox, but this is exactly what it is. They kind of facilitate exchange of information, but more or less on the email written level. Also, they do quite a bit of work in like child sexual abuse area or also the search of criminals and so on and so on. Can we arrest someone? No. We don't have executive powers, so we don't arrest people. And also one of the kind of legends that is going around is this some kind of European FBI? Also, not exactly. We don't have our own investigations. We don't run our own investigations, but we are good at coordinating those. Cyber. I'm coming from cyber background, cyber investigations background, and the one thing that you need to know, basically, we are focusing on three pillars of within each and every investigation that we do. So first of all, attribution. Who is behind the nicknames? Who is behind the ransomware group? Who is behind the business email compromise group? And so on and so on. This is something that we are focusing on. Also, we are focusing on infrastructure. All of those ransomware servers or hidden markets or whatever needs to run on something. They need to be somewhere. So this is also what we are trying to identify and then get the evidence out of those. And the last but not least, also we follow the money. We are good in crypto tracing, and especially at Europol. And we have very, very, very talented guys who are capable of doing this. And one thing I really liked, one of the presentations of one of our guys involved in crypto tracing, and he was telling there is no such thing as cold cases if there is a blockchain involved. This is not that evident, but super cool to know. At some point in time, even after 10 years of those big famous hacks, we can still trace the money and find the criminals. That's cool. All right. So our team, what do we do? Our goal is to get the data out of the devices in readable format. So we extract data from devices. If it's not readable, we are trying to make it readable. If it's encrypted, we are trying to decrypt them. We provide decryption services as well. I will show you some videos. I don't think those videos were shown publicly, to that kind of audience, but I believe you will find those interesting. And we do a lot of R&D. R&D, mainly focusing on our main goals. So how to get the data out of devices, how to, find encryption keys and recognize them and eventually decrypt data. We provide those services in-house in our headquarters, which is located here in the Netherlands, in The Hague. But also our guys are traveling across Europe with our toolboxes and the knowledge, and we are helping out local authorities to achieve certain goals within investigations. I believe, and especially in the R&D area, there is many different approaches, how law enforcement should do R&D and where we should invest. And recently we had a visit of one of the partner agency. They have a super, super cool hardware lab, multi-million hardware lab. And we sat together for a day. We've been presenting what we have, what they have. And eventually, we figured out that our toolboxes are very useful, but they are totally different. So that's cool. It means that there's so many areas where we can improve, and where can we move forward, which is, I find this super exciting. So the toolbox, that we have, first of all, decryption platform. I'm not going to spoil that. We will show the video. I will show you the video. We have all sorts of hardware tools, starting from simple chip-off tools, and the tools to read memory chips and so on, and also all sorts of live forensic tools as well. Of course, we have a commercial forensic toolbox. We are paying the license fees. We get those solutions, and we are trying to use them as much as we can to help countries who don't have them or who don't have enough capacity to extract data and so on. We provide trainings for the law enforcement. What kind of trainings? Mainly trainings on decryption, because we believe that we are good at this. So we have some colleagues of mine here in this room, so they are investing a lot of time and efforts in the creation of training modules on decryption, and I believe that this is the service that's super demanded, but there is also quite a challenging area, because you have to have very good understanding of what you do. And if someone, even within the law enforcement community, tells you that they are trying to brute force passwords, rest assured they have no idea what they're doing. Absolutely no idea. Also, we maintain networks of experts of all sorts of kinds. Networks, experts on decryption, network of experts on like live forensics, and so on and so on. So sharing is one of the best tools that we have. Sharing of knowledge, sharing of ideas, sharing of approaches, and this is also something that I am very much looking forward to have with this audience. Decryption services. So we have a decryption platform at Europol, and a funny story since 2013 actually. For more than 10 years. The funny story about one of the iterations of the platform was that when they installed it across many server rooms in our building and they launched it, well, there was a power outage in an entire building. So all the building was shut down. So the platform that you see on the screen, on the top picture, and you'll see a video in a minute, is located in Italy in a Joint Research Center of European Commission. It's in very, very nice area called Ispra, next to the beautiful lake called Lago Maggiore. And it's powerful. It's powerful, energy hungry. with very, very innovative cooling solution and power efficient cooling solution. So the current iteration of the platform is up and running since 2021, since the April of 2021, and we are expanding it as well. So I'm going to show a quick video of how it looks like. It's a drone footage in the platform room. So all of those boxes that you see on the screen, we call them pods. They're filled with mineral oil. It's a funless platform, liquid cooled. Basically all of those pods, they are fully filled with mineral oil, and this allows us to save a lot of money on the electricity. There is this coefficient which is called power usage efficiency, if I'm not mistaken. So the coefficient of this platform is 1.04, which is super, super cool. It means that if we spend 1 kilowatt hour for calculations, we spend only 0.04 kilowatt hour for cooling, which is really, really, really efficient solution. So what we are trying to decrypt? We are trying to decrypt, first of all, data at rest. We cannot decrypt traffic data. That's impossible. We cannot recreate encryption keys. So on the platform, we are using only open source software, Hashcat and Hashtopolis. This is what we use, and this is basically everything supported by the Hashcat. We can try or we can attempt to decrypt. And the decryption platform is not a correct name, in fact, for what we are trying to achieve. And what we are trying to achieve is to guess the passwords. So we are aiming not we cannot break encryption, but we are aiming at the weakness of the human mind. So it means we are collecting contextualized information about the person who set the password, previously used passwords, and so on and so on. We're applying rules and trying to guess the password in that way. So it's a fairly large platform. So the next question that I always get: how many investigations we can support with the platform per year? Usually around 40. Not that much. Why is that? Because we need to prepare. We need to prepare the proper word lists, and some colleagues, they know exactly what they are doing. They have their own decryption capacities in the member states, so they approach us only when they cannot do or cannot decrypt by themselves certain information. But there is many countries where they absolutely have no idea what to do. So they approach us, okay, we have seized this encrypted device. What shall we do? Well, probably it's too late already, but we can give a try. So this is what we do. Encryption functions is one-way functions, and we cannot reverse a password from the hash, but we can guess a lot of let's say password candidates, and in that way we can decrypt a lot of information. How many passwords we decrypt per year? Well, it varies. Sometimes for one case we can decrypt one password, or we need to decrypt one password. The other cases, tens of thousands of passwords. Yes. So the server architecture, I'm not a technical person, so I'm not gonna go in depth, but the thing is that we are using consumer GPUs, consumer grade GPUs, and not a professional grade GPUs. I will have, in my next slide, I will have arguments why do we use that, but in general, this floating point performance, which is being offered by the professional grade GPUs, is not relevant for password cracking. So the best hardware choice for money is consumer grade GPUs. This is what we use. Then the next question, which ones? NVIDIA or AMD? NVIDIA. We use NVIDIA GPUs. The drivers are much more stable, and it's just offers better performance for the money. Again, same arguments about why we don't use the professional ones. The performance of professional cards is just not relevant for password cracking. That's why. There is also one more type of hardware that can be used, which is called FPGAs. But there are some things that prevents us from going that way, and mainly the fact that the software used for password cracking using FPGAs, it's not open source. So we cannot develop the software. Well, probably we should, if we would invest more time, more efforts, we would be able to develop software by ourselves, but it's much more complicated. Some spoilers about the Hashcat. New version of the Hashcat will be released probably in upcoming months, hopefully. And there's going to be some cool new features in it. And one of the cool new features that is coming with the Hashcat, with the Hashcat version 7, will be called Assimilation Bridge. And what is that? Basically, you will be able to write your own decryption plugins in Python. And Python, also, I believe there is R support added by now. And you will be able to use Hashcat not on GPUs, but on CPUs. Why? For memory-heavy encryption functions, such as scrypt, bcrypt, yscrypt, and argon2. So this is something that is coming. Modern cyber investigations. What does it take to investigate modern cybercrime? So this is one of the press releases that was released in March. This year we had a very successful operation. We took down the Logbit infrastructure, and the person behind the Logbit was publicly announced. There is indictments from Americans basically announced for this person. But behind all of those numbers that you can see on the screen, there is a lot of efforts that has been put by many countries, and a lot of years that we need to invest in those investigations to make those investigations, to bring those investigations to the logical end, so to say. In this specific case, for the Logbit, the active phase of investigation, it started back in 2021. So it took 3 years in total for law enforcement to investigate this ransomware family. And this is with the condition that proper resources are being allocated, that people knows what they are doing. International cooperation units knows what they are doing, because this is the easiest way to screw any kind of investigation, is to have some links in this chain of international communication which has no idea about the technology. And then you don't need any lawyer. If there is one person who has no idea what the cyber is and what the technology is, basically investigations, they just not moving forward. So yes, the goal of this operation specifically was to disrupt the trust to the trust of like crime community for this specific ransomware family and for providers of the ransomware family. And also the next steps of that investigation was to chase or to to chase the affiliates, which was a swarm of affiliates, more than 200 affiliates, which were using this ransomware as a service solution. And there's a lot of work to be done yet to find those who to find and arrest those who were involved in this crime. Not all of those press releases are good, I can tell you. And this is also something that I want to bring and to communicate from this stage. This is press release about one of the criminal networks that was in Romania. Well, networks, not that big of a network. 3 suspects, but still. So they were targeting users of certain countries using the authentication software called Smart ID. So they were identified. There was quite a bit of damage done to the customers of the commercial banks using that software and so on. But the thing is, when you see, this picture, which is coming from the press release, and if you can enlarge this picture, I need to, yes. Then you see 3 bent phones. Well, broken phones. It means that every single suspect, before they were arrested, they broke their phones and destroyed most of the evidence. So the message behind this specific slide is that bad operational planning can ruin any investigation. To know who did the crime and to prove it, it's absolutely different tasks and tasks of different complexity. So this is the challenge, and that requires a lot of creativity from the law enforcement side, and to make sure that you get your hands on devices containing evidence when those devices are in the state which allows you to get the data out of those devices. Because modern devices are very, very safe. That's the only thing I can tell. The providers of commercial forensic solutions, they are lagging behind quite heavily, behind the manufacturers of those devices. And this is the reality of life that we need to face. And this is the reality of life that we need to try to compensate by proper operational planning as a law enforcement. The other slide that I would like to show you is related to the takedown of one of those encrypted communication networks that was used by mainly drug dealers all over the world. And this is not exactly a cybercrime. But why I'm bringing this slide to this audience? Because of the fact that, law enforcement, we are learning how to deal with let's say, criminal infrastructure throughout our casework. And this casework can be, of course, it could be a ransomware family, but it could be also encrypted communication network. We need to get to the point where those encrypted communications can be decrypted. So this specific case, it was run by led by French authorities, and they did excellent job to make this happen. And by now, a lot of cases, which was kind of as a follow-up of the takedown of the network, there was tons and tons of cases. Many, I saw slides where there was those jail sentences put together. So there was thousands and thousands of years of jail time as a consequence that criminals got as a consequence of this operation. And by now, everyone knows what has happened, what French authorities did. And basically, they hacked into the network and installed the update on every single device within this network, which allowed them to read unencrypted data. And this is known because of the fact that all of those investigations went through all levels of court hearings and so on. So on Europol website, you can find this first report on encryption, which is not exactly first report produced by us in cooperation with some other agencies, which has some interesting things when you read it. So, specifically speaking about EncroChat investigation, it's quite clear that it's written. You can read this. Basically, what has happened? It's written that law enforcement hacked into devices, but to hack into devices, it's not so simple to do. You have to have, first of all, to find where the infrastructure is. Then you have to establish presence on the infrastructure. Then you have to escalate your privileges. Then you have to, all of that you have to do kind of in a way where that the people who runs the network, they don't notice that. So it's not an easy thing to achieve, I can tell you. And the fact that law enforcement can do that shows the level of the knowledge and the competence and capabilities that law enforcement has. Is there a lot of the agencies who can do that? Absolutely not. Probably there's less than a handful of agencies who can run investigations on that level. But the thing is that why I'm bringing this boring text slide here is that law enforcement also has a capability to keep the investigative methods or technologies and not publish them. I mean, to keep from publishing those technologies. That's also super important. Why is that? Because most of those technologies, they are based on either software vulnerabilities or implementation flaws or something like that. So we are good at finding those implementation flaws and vulnerabilities, and we are good in the way, the law enforcement in general, those capable agencies, they are good in exploiting them to get the evidence to prove that the crime was done by certain people. Commercial solutions versus R&D. This is also very, very hot topic and painful topic for the law enforcement. Why is that? Because of increasing prices of those solutions. They are lagging behind, but they are still increasing prices because the devices, they are getting more and more safe, and it's not an easy anymore to get into those devices and to get the information out of those devices. So we have here, for example, main brands who are providing mobile extraction software, so to say, or solutions. And I can tell you that in 5 years, prices of those solutions tripled. And law enforcement in general, we are paying hundreds of millions of euros for those licenses. And I did simple math. I know how much we are paying as a Europol for those licenses. And if you would multiply this by the number of the member states, if you multiply this by the number of law enforcement / intelligence authorities who are dealing with buying those kind of licenses or have a need to buy those licenses, hundreds of millions. No less than that. Can we use those millions in a different way? Absolutely. That's why we are investing a lot in the R&D. It's better, it's way better, I believe, to invest in R&D, have solutions that we as law enforcement own. We have a source code, we understand how they work, and then apply those solutions when the time comes within the investigations. Yes. So the challenges that we have, we apply not the challenges, but solutions, and also the tools that we have. We are trying to apply in a way that allows us to speed up attribution that allows us to deal with infrastructure, but also allows us to do financial investigations. Law enforcement, it's well known. Law enforcement is looking for the money. So we need to be able to find the crypto wallets. We need to be able to trace crypto assets and seize them if needed. So this is what we are trying to achieve. And that's why R&D is super important. If we develop technologies which allows us to do so, then we can reuse those technologies in the multiple cases instead of having, investing money and having, data extracted from one device in one case and having no knowledge whatsoever how it is being done. So we are investing, we are in favor of developing solutions by ourselves, instead of, just paying for them for those licenses. Yes, and this is kind of, I don't want to tell that Louis de Finesse was kind of not capable gendarme or something, but it's more to illustrate that the cybersecurity community, they kind of thinking that, okay, law enforcement, okay, well, you have some capabilities and so on. That's all right. That's all right. But in general, well, we know your limitations and so on. And this is something that is coming from multiple events where I had a chance to present. And also we are engaging with a lot of companies and things like that. But when they actually realize, the capacities that we have, well, they really understand that we are trying to be at the forefront of our adversaries, in the front of our adversaries. So we are, in general, as a law enforcement, I would say we are capable, and we really have smart guys working for us, mission-driven smart guys working for us. The guys that are not posting anything on LinkedIn or even don't have LinkedIn accounts, but they are top of the line. And this is simple fact. Probably, not all of you believe in what I am saying, but that's the fact. We have a line of really, capable law enforcement agencies behind our door, even at Europol, and in crypto tracing, in decryption. We proved again and again and again for those partners that we are best in those areas, and we can move investigations forward. We can navigate them through the jungle of blockchains and so on, and also we can help them to decrypt data in many ways. So, my last slide. What do we need from you as a law enforcement? We are looking of course, for innovative methods of getting the data out from all sorts of devices. The most simple example would be hardware crypto wallets. Some labs, they have some capacity, but there is plenty of countries who has no capacity at all. So we are looking for your services. We can pay to get the job done. And we are looking into the knowledge sharing. We can pay for your knowledge. That's also something. But most of all, we are looking for co-development capabilities, opportunities. If we can co-develop things, co-develop tools, that's something that brings us to the next level. That would be it from my side. Thank you very much. I hope it was not super boring. And I'm happy to take questions if you have any.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Do we have questions in the audience? We have one question over there. While I go there, I will also want to ask my question.
Yes, please.
You mentioned that there are commercial vendors who provide decryption tools for phones, for example. Do you see law enforcement trying to do it in slightly different way? Like, so we know that for phones, for example, sometimes the encryption is entangled with the device. and you have the decrypting farm already, do you see yourself trying to do some sort of research to extract the data, extract enough data from the device to do the off-device decryption of this?
That would be amazing to have. Most of the solutions, it's excellent question. Most of the solutions that commercial suppliers can offer, they do, as we call, online password brute force. It means that we have to connect device, we have to load something on the phone, and the decryption happens on the phone, or password guessing. But to be able to, this can work fairly well for digits, PIN codes, more or less. But if we have alphanumeric passwords, then the likelihood to get the password in that way is close to zero, unless you have excellent word list. So those who will be able to extract any generation of iPhone, extract information required for offline password cracking, on the platform, for any generation of the iPhone, you will get rich instantly. That I can tell. Everyone will run with their money to pay for that kind of solution.
I think that's been done before.
Yes. For some phones, yes. We even had some meetings with the guys, with the researchers. But for newer models, it's very, very hard. I know that.
All
Please,
right.
question.
We have a question here.
Thank you for the presentation. This was it gave some valuable insight into how Europol operates. I have two questions.
Yes.
So you said like the best way that you kind of get into the encrypted device is by guessing the password. So do you also take into account data breaches that have dumped passwords on the dark web or something like that? Do you utilize those for guessing?
I would lie if I would say no. But one thing that we have a lot of data sets that has been, acquired by the law enforcement over the years. So as a law enforcement, we have sort of, quite a bit of data already, plain text passwords as well. So we are using that as well. But, in general, when we need to decrypt that one password, we still need to build proper word list.
Thank you.
Yes.
One more question. So I saw your presentation about Lockbit,
Yes.
but ransomware as a service is rising like year by year. Right?
Yes.
So do you do further investigations into other ransomware as a service
Absolutely.
gangs? And the question is, do you have some publicly available data sets that show where the gangs are specifically targeting which industries, something like that?
Well, by now I can tell you that we had a chance to look into all sorts of services of criminals running different businesses, so to say. So ransomware, and when you get your hands on the server, then you can evaluate the OPSEC level, the knowledge level of those guys, and so on. So those who are running ransomware servers or ransomware as a service solutions, or in general ransomware, their level of knowledge is somewhere here. Then the next level is those who are running all sorts of child sexual abuse related stuff on the internet. And the top level is anything related to the financial crime, like business email compromise, investment fraud. They have money and they pay skilled people to make sure that the OPSEC on the top level. So the ransomware, they are opportunists and they are going for low-hanging fruits. Mainly, there was some well-known stories about huge enterprises being encrypted, but in general, they are going after mid-size, enterprises mostly. That would be the answer to the question.
We have a question over there.
Yes.
Hi. You mentioned you're able to keep the techniques do you use to do the compromises secret? And you show some examples where the law has allowed you to do that. What are your thoughts on the trade-offs of doing that, or not disclosing the vulnerabilities that you're using versus the value they provide that to the community? I mean, those will be exploited by someone else as well.
Yes, that's a very good question. In general, I believe that those vulnerability disclosure programs, they have a lot of sense and a lot of value. In many countries, no, not many countries, but there are few advanced countries who has already established national legal framework to of the vulnerability disclosure. And for example, United States, they have this vulnerability equity program where they, as soon as law enforcement, for example, or law enforcement like acquires or via research finds vulnerability, they are doing assessment how critical it is, and is it still needs to be kept unpublished for the law enforcement or intelligence use, or it needs to be published. So there are quite a few countries who already have those kind of frameworks, and eventually within the EU we will have that as well. Of course, it's a hot topic. Those countries who already have working systems, they just don't want to mess up on the European level and to kind of mess their systems. But one more thing to know is that, well, as a law enforcement, we have a little bit different, how to say, ways how we can approach those devices. We have court orders. The hacking as such, it's a kind of fancy word, but we don't do hacking. In general, we are allowed by courts to do what we do. So we should call it in the legal terms. But in general, law enforcement, for example, we can have a physical access to machine. We can enter the server room. We can enter the house. And if we find ways to use physical access to get the data that we need, is it that relevant to be published? Is it? Well, that is the point that I'm trying to say, that our approaches, they are mainly work with the physical access and not over the network. So that would be the answer to the question.
We have a last question from Victor from here.
Thank you for presentation. My question is, do you have an opinion about some people and some governments who would like to push laws to weaken commercial encrypted messaging services for law enforcement purposes?
So, my opinion as a person would, I should keep it for myself in this specific context. But the thing is that during last 2 years probably, there was a lot of discussions in Brussels, where law enforcement was always also involved, and the private companies was involved. There was this so-called high-level working group on encryption in Brussels, and they were discussing how to make, how to solve this problem, to regulate the market in a way that law enforcement still would be able to access the data, but also not to weaken an encryption, which is kind of challenging to achieve. And there are a number of recommendations that was released. But in general, what I think as a person, not representative of Europol, at some point in time, it will be regulated. It will be regulated. Probably another terrorist act needs to happen, large-scale terrorist act or something like that. those events, usually sad events, they kind of force those solutions to be implemented. But the reality is that we are paying a lot as law enforcement for opportunity to get the evidence that we need to investigate crimes. So, and some of those solutions that intelligence agencies or law enforcement are paying money for, they are super expensive, super invasive. Do they need to be like this? Probably not. If we need to read a chat, do we need to get a copy of entire device? Absolutely not. But there is no other way around. So it's a fundamental problem.
All right. Thank you very much, Donatus.
Thank you.
Great